Hi, and welcome back to Outdoor Adventurecraft. Today I'm filming the first video in a new series called Cabin Life. The series will feature day-to-day activities in and around the cabin. I've got the fire lit, so let's go on inside. Hi guys, welcome to the cabin. I thought the first thing I'd talk about was respect. You know, a lot of people have cabins like this out in the woods near ATV trails or skidoo trails, and you're bound to come across one at some point. And a lot of guys like myself that have cabins like this, we don't lock the door for a reason. We don't want people kicking it in. You know, so if you come across somebody's cabin, or hey, if you come across mine, come on in. But respect the place. Take care of it and leave it like you found it. That's all anybody could ever ask. So that being said, I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of history on the cabin here. My grandfather built it 40 or so years ago. Built it down on the property where the farm is, and it's built on railroad ties, and he had a horse team drag it up here in the winter. It fell into disrepair over the years, and my father started fixing it up in the 80s and bringing me and my sister up here, and I had a lot of good memories up here because of that. And then through the 90s, when we started growing up, we weren't up here as much, and again, due to vandalism and damage and things like that, there were some windows kicked out of it and stuff. But remembering it as I did as a kid, I wanted to fix it up. So in the early 2000s, I put new windows in it and a new door, and started putting insulation in it and fixing it up. And now I had kids, so I started bringing them up here, and I think they see it the same way I did. And hopefully I'm able to pass that on to them, and that love for being here and taking care of it. Now that we've talked about the history of the cabin a little bit, I thought what we might do is just go through the cabin and talk about some of the things that you might want to keep at a cabin. You know, being at a cabin in the woods is a lot like camping anywheres. You have three basic needs. You need shelter, you need water, and you need food. Well, you've got a building around you, so the shelter thing's taken care of pretty well. Firewood then would become the thing you'd need to supply to round out that shelter element. And where we're in the woods, there's plenty of firewood that you can prepare throughout the year in the warmer seasons and in the fall, so that you can be ready to enjoy your cabin in the winter. And those other two things, water and food, you can easily store here as well. Maybe I'll move the camera around a little bit and show you what the layout here a little bit and some of the stuff that I keep in the cabin. Okay guys, so keeping on that first element out of those three we were talking about, shelter, water, and food, when we continue to talk about shelter and staying warm and things like that, some of the basics obviously are going to be firewood and a wood stove. Now this wood stove was replaced. Originally this place had a big kitchen camp stove with the oven and everything in it, but it was all rusted out and old, so I threw that out years ago, and I got this little 25 liter, I think is what they call the capacity of it, cast iron potbelly stove. Works really, really nice. It'll actually cook you out of here. This place is only about 12 by 16. It's more than enough stove. But outside of wood and a wood stove, sometimes you need to cook, or you need quicker forms of heat. Sometimes the wood stove takes a little while to get the place warm. One of the things I have here is a catalytic heater. This is an old Tonka from the 60s. Catalytic heater uses Coleman naphtha fuel. Also good for camp stoves and things like that while you're here. I also keep kerosene for the lanterns and other types of cook stoves. And matches. It's always good to have lots of matches at your camp. I got both packs, little paper packs of matchbooks, and I also have wooden matches. And starting fires is great fun, but what about putting them out if there's trouble? You should definitely keep a fire extinguisher at your camp or cabin. Now this one here, it was actually decommissioned. I got it from a fire inspector, but it's got a full charge, and you might be able to find something like this if you know anybody that's in that kind of work for a real good deal. Now moving on from shelter and heating and things like that, then you got to start, you know, taking care of yourself while you're here and making your stay comfortable. And one of those elements we talked about, shelter. The second one, obviously you need in any situation, especially if you're isolated in a cabin like this, would be water. Now I always keep lots of water on site. I've got about 20 liters here. There's a little drink off of one of them. And good thing about these big jugs here is that they're in a plastic container, so it's flexible. If this water stays up here over the winter, if it freezes, the container won't break. So that's a good idea here. And if I finish off this one, I'll get a new one and start into the older one. Keep the newer bottle and just kind of rotate them through. While we're over here, there's a couple other things on this table at this end of the cabin. Kerosene lantern, extra wicks on the shelf, so keeping something like this is good. Also, the light they put off is really nice. Just the atmosphere that you get from candles and kerosene lanterns, it's very comforting and it's nice to be around in the cabin. Also over here was a large flashlight with a 6-volt battery. I don't actually have any of these extra batteries here right now, but I should. So if you have a flashlight, whatever type of batteries it takes, you should have them at the cabin too. I mean, I always bring something with me in my pack, but as far as on site, I should have an extra battery for this, so keep that in mind. And back here, just out and behind the water, Ghetto Blaster, catch some good tunes from the local area, so I recommend that. That's a luxury, but you know, if you're coming out here with friends and you bring a beer, you know, you want a radio. So we've covered shelter and heating. We've talked about water and food. So keeping food around your camp. Now what I've always done is I bring food, obviously, fresher food and things like that I plan on eating during my stay. But I keep a backup reserve here of canned goods. And I've done a little bit of research, and canned goods, it looks like, now don't take my word for it, but from what I learned and from my experience, canned goods, if they get frozen and thawed out, they're fine. The only thing that really changes, I've found, is the texture, because obviously the cellular structure of like your bean or whatever, it kind of ruptures because it's been frozen and then thawed out. But you still want to check your dates on your canned goods. Like this can of chili here, I was looking at it last night, October 2017. So this has still got a good shelf life. Now this will probably be gone before next winter, but sometimes stuff does sit over the winter. So keep in mind, if it freezes and thaws, your texture is going to change a little bit. Also, as far as food goes, other than having a little reserve of food here, you want to have a way to be able to cook and eat it. So I've got a selection of older pots and pans and things like that I've collected, and I keep those here. Obviously I don't keep, you know, the best of what I have, but I keep cabin suitable stuff here. And obviously with this you're going to want to keep some soap and towels and things like that for cleaning them up, because you want to keep up your hygiene and things like that while you're at the camp. It's you know, not just an excuse to make a mess everywhere. So think of things like this too, cleaning and soap and things like that, when you're thinking of preparing for food and stuff like that around your cabin. Also, one other thing. Under here I have Coleman Stove, again, so this burns the Coleman naphtha fuel. Most of my cooking's done on the wood stove, but I keep this here just for convenience, especially sometimes in the summer. You may not want to cook on the wood stove because it might be too hot. You may just want to be able to have an instant source of cooking so that you don't have to cook yourself right out of the cabin trying to heat up a pot of beans. So something like this is good too. And just to wrap off food and things like that, we've talked about fry pans and pots and ways to cook it, how you're going to eat it. Paper plates, I find, are a lifesaver. You can burn them off in the fireplace. Also, sometimes I don't even want to dirty a pot. I'll just use these tinfoil baking trays. These are great for heating up beans and things like that. I also keep a selection of plastic cutlery and napkins and things like that in a bucket with a sealable lid. That way mice and stuff don't get in. cups, cutlery, more plates, you name it, it's probably in there. That way you're not constantly having to wash dishes and things like that, and that can make your stay a lot more comfortable. Well guys, thanks for joining me here at the cabin today. Hopefully this video wasn't too boring. It was just an introduction video. I wanted to cover the basics because in the future with this series I do want to get more into you know, finding firewood around the area, the hunting and trapping around the area, things like this that are a little bit more interesting in their application as opposed to just you know, being around the camp. Well, one of the reasons I did want to talk about being prepared and what you'd keep here at the camp is because, you know, you want to make it simple, you want to make it enjoyable, so when you come here, you know, you want the basics to be in place. That being said, also I've considered what happens if you know, a lost hunter or a skidooer or somebody in trouble happens upon the cabin. When you have the needs in place, they're going to be taken care of. If something happens, they're going to be able to you know, affect survival for that first night, what have you, until the next morning. They can get their head back on their shoulders, figure out where they are, and hopefully everything will be all right. Just before I get ready to go here, I wanted to say thanks again for all your support. It just seems like the other day we were thanking you guys for 100 subscribers, and I was looking there just now and I'm at 154. So I'm really thankful guys for all your support and your subscriptions and watching the videos. I've got a giveaway planned I'm excited to tell you guys about. When we hit 250 subscribers, I'm going to do a random giveaway. I'll take your names from the comments, and I've got a nice little surprise for you guys, so I'm looking forward to giving that away to one of the subscribers, so stay tuned for that. And again, thanks for joining me here on Outdoor Adventurecraft, and we'll see you next time.